Happy Hannukah. Happy Hannukah. So we're glad everyone can make it out on a Sunday morning. I want to thank Kadmoni for putting this together and giving us the schut, the privilege of hosting such a holy event during such a holy time. So we stand now in the second half of Hannukah, and as everyone knows, we're counting up, right? In some cultures they count down, but Judaism we're always counting up. And it says this is one of the Rabbi G says this is one of the general rules we apply to all of Torah that we learn from the Hannukah menorah, is that in Judaism and things of Torah we never count down, we always go up. We never descend, we always ascend. And that, of course, is most beautifully metaphorically displayed by the increasing of a candle each night. And right, it's all building up to that final night, right, when you'll have the full candelabra, the menorah fully lit, with all the candles lit, right on the 8th night. So in general, Hannukah is very connected to the number 8, right? The 8 crazy, beautiful, holy nights. So in Kabbalah and Chassidus, the number 8 has a lot of important meaning, and we're going to discuss and analyze and delve into some of these concepts behind the number 8. Why is Hannukah 8 nights, and how this plays into different Kabbalistic paradigms, and then hopefully how we can apply these concepts to our own experience of life to enhance our own perception of existence and connection to God and connection to our inner selves. So as many of you might know from coming before, if you've ever checked out Kabbalah, right, and it's perfect, that's why I put the bima here, the stender here, is right, there's this thing called the Tree of Life, the 10 sfirot, the 10 divine spheres, 10 divine spheres, which is diagonally positioned here in this mural. And basically everything in Torah and everything in life being an outgrowth of the Torah, is somehow connected to these 10 divine spheres, which are basically the mechanisms of how God originally created all of existence, and how God continues to sustain and manifest His providence over all of reality. And so there's 10 of them. So the number 8, we're going to see how the number 8, Hannukah being 8 nights, fits into this paradigm of the 10 divine spheres, and the meaning that has to us. So right, so in the Zohar, the quintessential book of Kabbalah, written in Israel by Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai about 1700 years ago, says that Hannukah, the 8 nights of Hannukah, the 8th divine sphere is called the sphere of Hod, H-O-D, Hod, which means like thanksgiving, Hodu Hashem ki tov ki olam chasto, right? Giving thanksgiving, giving praise to God, right? If you're counting from the first main divine sphere, which is the divine sphere of wisdom, called Chokhmah, you have Bina, you have Das, and you count down, you get to the 8th divine sphere. That's Hod. And the idea of Hannukah is actually the first night tapping into divine wisdom. And interestingly, we're counting down, but yet we're counting up. We'll see. We're moving down the divine chart to the 8th sphere. That last night we reach the 8th sphere of Hod, of thanksgiving, of praise. But like we said, there's really a counting up. It's very interesting. It's actually a counting up. And we're going to see how this divine sphere of praise, this idea of giving thanksgiving, giving praise to God, and how we do that actually connects to the penultimate, most transcendent levels of God. And all other sacrifices that all other Jews have had throughout biblical history and history today, the Maccabees stand out is because theirs was in the physical realm. They faced a physical foe that was so unbelievable. It was a small group of like 12 brothers who decided to go fight a war against 40,000 of the best trained soldiers in the world, who had elephants and this and that, and they weren't afraid. They weren't afraid of any right? Let alone, Jews were not afraid of any spiritual opposition, anything that would spiritually threaten us. Of course we're not afraid. But when you face something like literally like you're surrounded by 40,000 people with machine guns faced at you, and you have like a little challah knife, right? you're like, it would be insane of you to like be like, no, but I'm going to destroy them. I'm going to destroy them and take back my temple, right? But that's exactly what the Maccabees did. They literally did something that is totally meshuggah in the face of the utmost adversity you could possibly imagine, because they had, as we're going to discuss, this insane level of praise and just like transcendent recognition of God's role in this world. They were able to overcome the impossible. And interesting, that's what, Gabe Kepler, the new Phillies manager, spoke at Chabad's giant menorah lighting last night at Independence Hall, and one of the things he talked about, particularly said when he visited Israel with his two sons last year, he said just to be in Israel and see these people who have had and are continuing to withstand the most seemingly insurmountable obstacles of like life-threatening situations. He says, this is what I want to instill in the Phillies, in the ball club, like just to like, no matter what's happening, you just have to like push through and be positive thinking and always believe like things are going to work out, that you're always going to win. And that's really the Maccabee spirit, right? That's really like the spirit of a Jew. Like, we always know we're going to win in the end, no matter what obstacle we face. And the Maccabees were unique in this way. And so too the Eagles will be. They'll soar above. Says that there's many things about the Eagles in Torah and in Kabbalah, whatever, but that's it. We can have for our Super Bowl meditation, when the Eagles are in the Super Bowl, we'll do an Eagles meditation. How about that?
Which year?
After they beat the Patriots this year. I'm sorry. Okay, I do digress.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Okay. So the last concept I explored, which is really the main concept, is what is this unique quality of number 8? Of the 8 nights of Hannukah, as relates to giving praise, and again this idea of like entering a state of praise, entering this particularly powerful state of like connection. So it says in general there's like 3 ways, and as we're saying, really, Hannukah, the 8 days of Hannukah represents the transcendent coming down into this world. As we can say, right, in general, 7 represents nature, and 8 represents that which is just beyond nature. We have the 7 days of the week, right, and that's just the natural way God created the world, and then you have the 8th day, which goes beyond all that. But the interesting thing is, the 7th day itself, Shabbat itself, is already a transcendent level, right? Shabbat itself is already a holy day. It's totally holy, and in Torah is described as being this day when that goes beyond the natural order. So if number 8 is beyond number 7, if the 8 days of Hannukah goes even beyond Shabbat, and Shabbat is already transcendent, then it must be that the 8 days of Hannukah and the 8 represents something transcendent even beyond that which is normally transcendent. So it says the following. It says that essentially there's 3 levels of transcendent godliness that we can draw down into the world. It says and this is all analogous through like the metaphor of light, of like lighting a candle, the menorah. Right? It says the first level is transcendent levels of godliness that are readily available to like be drawn down into the world. And the metaphor here is that that you have darkness, and you shine a light upon it, and you transform the darkness. You bring divine light into the world, and you light up the world, right? But here, there's an interesting thing: is when you just shine a light automatically from above down below into the lower realms. The lower realms themselves really did not become truly compatible to the godliness. They were just overwhelmed by it. They were transformed because something higher and more powerful that transcends them overwhelmed them and just shone a light upon them, and there's nothing they could do about it, right? The lower realms itself, the darkness itself, didn't truly transform itself into light, right? So there's a true dichotomy. You have light and you have dark, and of course, thank God, light, transcendent light, can push away any darkness, right? Just light a candle and the darkness will disappear. But the darkness itself had no role in that. The darkness itself just was overpowered. The second level is a light that reveals the inner light that was really always in the darkness. That in our physical world, which can seem so dark sometimes, the light of God is here. Everything is being vivified by the infinite light of God. And if you just reveal it, now there'll be light. Now let there be light, right? That here you have the lower realms itself, physicality itself, is becoming an expression of godliness, of godly light, and because the role of the light, the transcendent light that you're bringing in the world, is just to activate the light that is inherent in everywhere. So there's a true transformation of the darkness into light. But even here, we still have two separate entities. We still have light, and we still have the darkness, and then we just have the light that's within the darkness to reveal in the lower realms. But you still have the higher realms and the lower realms existing as seemingly opposite and differentiated levels of being. It says the penultimate level, which is this is what it's connected to on Hannukah, is when you reveal the true, absolutely transcendent light of God that is just everything. There is no darkness. There is no physicality. There is nothing but God. Ein od milvado. There is nothing but Him. You tap into a level which in Kabbalah is called Pnimiyut Keter, Pnimiyut Atik, right? The inner level of the pleasure that God has from the world existing, and this pleasure is just Him being pleased by Himself, just experiencing absolute divine pleasure in His own essential oneness, and this is what the menorah taps into. This is the praise. When you praise God through the menorah, when you are really praising God, we aspire to connect to this level, to this third level of transcendent energy that literally doesn't just transform, doesn't just reveal, it just is. The fact just is, there is nothing but light. There is nothing but pure, streamlined goodliness and godliness. That everything is pure God. Okay? And this is the 8 days of Hannukah, and this is why the miracle of Hannukah came through oil. Right? The oil that lasted for 8 days when it should have just lasted for one. It says oil has a very fascinating property to it, right? Oil, no matter what liquid you mix it with, always rises to the top, right? It represents transcendent energy. It represents God's wisdom. In Kabbalah, oil is connected to the first divine sphere, the first night of Hannukah, of Chokhmah, godly wisdom, right? The wisdom of the Torah is a wisdom that transcends any other wisdom. No matter even you try to mix it in with this or that, with Greek wisdom, with sciences, whatever, it always rises up. It's always just on a whole other level of intellect than anything else. Right? So, right, it represents that transcendent energy. It's just above the world. Right? The oil is above the world. But nonetheless, we see a fascinating property of oil is, right, when you Seth can tell us, when you cook with oil, what happens? I know you're a big culinary guy. The oil
makes stuff crispy.
when we cook latkes with oil, the oil spreads throughout the whole thing. The oil incredibly, even though the nature of oil with other liquids is to stay separate. Amazingly, with solids, oil, and in Jewish law it's called is mipapea b'chol. The kol hadavar, it spreads out through the whole thing. It saturates the whole thing, right? The oil saturates everything, even though it's a transcendent thing. It's something that is separate from everything, but yet it saturates everything. And that's right. This is exactly what we're talking about. This is the energy of Hannukah. This is the third highest transcendent energy, right? It's so transcendent. It's literally the essence of God, which is totally unknowable. You could only praise it. You could only be like, oh my gosh, thank God, how could I possibly describe it? And yet, it saturates everything because it is everything. The oil simultaneously is the most transcendent thing on earth. It can't get mixed in with everything, but at the same time, it is mixed in with everything. It saturates all of reality. It is all of reality. It's the whole thing, right? It is the whole thing. And that is Hannukah. That is, right, on this 25th day, we finally rest. Hannukah, we rest. Chanu means to rest, and Ka means Kafei, the 25 of the Shema, right? We bring into a state of rest, into a state of tranquility, a state of resting down in our world, this transcendent energy of the Shema Yisrael, our absolute faith in God, even though we can't totally understand Him at all, right? That transcendent level, and it's through the 8 days of Hannukah we are able to tap into the highest level of transcendent divine energy, which simultaneously is totally beyond the world and yet is the fiber and being of all existence. Interesting, that's why we also say the word for 8 days, Shmona is from the word shemen, oil, right? Shmona, 8 days, is from the word shemen, oil. And this oil, on these 8 days, the oiliness of God saturates all of our being. That's why it's just like everyone's been talking about it. Like we always thought, Hanukkah, it just feels so good. It is just like every Jew feels it so deep. It's just like there's something about it. It's like it's so unique, and it's a time, right, and we created this, right? It wasn't even a mitzvah from God. It's a rabbinic mitzvah. Who brought down this divine energy? God didn't do it. The Maccabees did it. A bunch of Jews stood up for Judaism and stood up for what was good and godly and stood up for our religion, and they're the ones who tapped into this third level of transcendent energy and made it that for the rest of Jewish history, on these 8 days, every Jew would be able to do it. Human beings did that. Only a human being. God couldn't even make it happen himself. God left it to us. God leaves it to us to bring such a transcendent level. Right? God brings the transcendent level of Shabbat every week into the world, and of the holidays, and He wants us to keep Shabbat in order to actually make it truly manifest in the world. But the highest levels of transcendent, of the eighth level, is on us. It's totally on us. We have to do it totally on our own, and then God will just open up the warehouse and reveal that everything is Ein Od Milvado. There's nothing but Him. Everything is just, we are all just oily, oily, godly things. Our entire being is saturated with the oneness of God. So with that being said, we will now we'll try to incorporate this. We'll try to go actually through a meditation, like and dwell upon this, and really think deeply about this. Which I saw some other people were doing. Hopefully that wasn't them falling asleep. It was more than just going into a meditative state. I know how it is. That happens to me too. Don't worry. I tell God, I was just really deeply into my prayer. I wasn't falling asleep. Okay. So that's the meditation, right? We want to think about in your life the things that have happened to you that you can't understand, but you know they were the biggest blessings, and we want to connect with this. So usually, right, we say Shema first, and then we say Baruch Shem Kavod. But here, first we want to we're going to do the opposite order, because Hanukkah is really the opposite order. First, we're going to work from the imminent levels, and then we're going to get to this high praise. So first, we're going to think about what are we fighting against right now? What in our life seems like opposition to us, that is keeping us back from the success we want, both physically and spiritually. What are different hindrances we feel like to our Jewish identity? Different things. All of us, it's different. Everything's fine tailored to our personalities and to the experiences we go through. Let's meditate now in Baruch Shem Kavod. What do you as a Maccabee have to stand up and fight against? What are you struggling against? Let's take a minute and dwell upon that, and think about how you don't have to be afraid. Think about, empower yourself. Think about how you can stand up to the greatest adversaries, no matter how powerful the forces are within you and outside of you, that are keeping you from being truly happy and truly accomplishing what you want to.
Can we go the lights?
Yeah, we can hit these lights. Wait, would you hit the lights down here? Just the one at the top of the step, please. I was gonna, if I didn't have to go buy a dehumidifier this morning because we had a little flood at our house, I had a whole candle arrangement I was gonna do, but we didn't have time for that. And dehumidifiers are very expensive. I had no idea. What's so sophisticated about them?
You just return it once you're done with it.
No, it's clearly used. Oh, I should have gone to Bed Bath and Beyond and gotten it. There you can return it no matter what. What's that?
Do you need a chair?
No, I'm good. I'm gonna sway.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll sit. Yeah, I'll sit in one of these chairs.
Space on the couch.
So again, we're gonna, right before we can get to Hanukkah, we have to fight the war. So we're gonna think about, right, what are the different things we're facing in our lives today that we need to overcome, and right, and we have to tap into not to the level of first we tap into Netzach, into our our ability to overcome, to win the war, right? That's the first level of being a Maccabee. The first level of getting to Hanukkah is, right, realizing the different forces in our lives that we need to stand up against, and that we can, and that having the confidence and knowing we can. So we'll meditate upon that, all in our own respective unique ways. One of the ways to be to find strength and be empowered to overcome these challenges is from the word kislev itself. It's kis means a covering, and lev, lamed vav, actually not lev like the heart. Lamed vav is 36. It says the 36 represents our emotional attributes, the 6 main emotional attributes of the tree of life, of the divine sefirot, as they're inter-included in one another. In one another, 6 times 6 is 36. So in Kislev, we realize that hidden within us is all the emotional strength we need to overcome any of the challenges we face. So think about the different emotional traits you know you have that get covered over by the challenges of life, and think about, the different approaches of life that you can tap into and need to tap into and can tap into, that you know you have within you to work on the different things you need to individually, and then what you need to apply to the world outside of you, the challenges you face in the world outside. Key slave. They're all these all the emotional abilities you need to overcome the challenges of life are hidden within you in this month, waiting to be revealed by the Hannukah lights starting on the 25th of Kislev. we'll transition to Hannukah itself, the 8 days, and realizing, right, that all the challenges themselves are really all from the oil. That everything in life is saturated with it. It is the oil itself. It is God, the godly wisdom. Everything represents a totally transcendent level of connection, and we'll give praise and acknowledgement to the fact that that is the truth, and we pray and try to, through meditation, attain the level where we can actually get a glimpse of this in our daily life. And we pray that we can be given the insight to perceive this, that everything is truly saturated with the miraculous. The war itself was miraculous. All the steps along the way to getting to a miracle is miraculous. Nature itself is miraculous. Everything in your life is miraculous, is coming and flowing from the oil of divine wisdom, and you yourself are saturated with this level of awareness that God is truly one, everything is one with God, and the transcendent and the immanent are one and the same. You can imagine in your mind's eye the 8 branches of your menorah, of your personal soul menorah, fully lit, and realizing that it's always lit. You don't even have to light it. The light is there. There is no darkness. There's nothing to illuminate. Everything is in a state of pure illumination. And if we meditate and envision these flames, you can see, even in the dark room, just pure light. That there is no darkness. There's nothing that can possibly cover over anything inside of you. finish off with now having a level of thankfulness, not just for the challenges, but for the things that are already revealed, and revealed plane of goodness in our lives, to be thankful for what we do have, and to realize that everything we do have is literally coming from the most transcendent levels of godliness. Even the simple things we own, there's nothing that is within our purview that is not, again, saturated with this oil, and we're thankful for everything we have and are enjoying all the good things we have in our life.
Night.
Oh. I know, right? That flash of white was like, what?
I see. It was on the whole time.
The light was on the whole time.
Yeah.
The light was on.
Yeah, that was unexpected.